Hello there, what is going on everyone? Today we are doing some Warhammer Age of Sigmar unboxings, and it is a whole new wave of Kharadron Overlords, and this is a big particular unboxing for me because it is the dawn of a new era of a faction that I've only just recently gotten into. These are dwarves that have airships. They're kind of like steampunk dwarves, death from above. They are flying in on airships, jumping down, using the airships to move around. And then they also have some guys that have little balloons on them, like this new Null Khemist here. They have a lot of dudes that have similar apparatus that allow them to move around the battlefield independently without the need of an airship, although they still are eligible to be used by airships. And we've got not only some new units, we've got a new Battletome and new cards, a new faction terrain that is really cool for a number of reasons. I'm going to talk about that. We'll look at the Battletome. We'll look at this new unit called the Vongrim Harpoon Crew, which I have 3 of here because you can build them 2 different ways, and I really loved the look of these guys. There are multiple dwarf factions in Age of Sigmar, and these guys kind of reminded me of Fire Slayers a little bit, and I wondered if it was a hint of maybe a merger actually happening between these guys or not. We're going to see. There's a lot to look at. We'll look at some of the sprues. We'll show you kind of the extra bits that come on these because I'm really curious how many different faces and spear options we're going to get in here. The harpoons are super cool. Again, they can be built different ways. There's a lot of different build options for these guys. You're getting 5 miniatures in this box. A little expensive per miniature at a $60 MSRP for this box. It's quite a bit, but it's new stuff, so I'm a sucker for it. We've got this Null Khemist here, who is a single guy. He's $45 for 1 miniature, so that's less of a big deal. He's primarily an anti-magic hunter. He's like a mage slayer and does damage to extra damage to mages, clerics, or priests rather, and also the manifestations that they might summon. We've got the Zontari Endrin Dock, which is very cool because it's a repair station for airships. So it does that, but it also summons these 3 little mini Endrins that basically acts sort of like the Kharadron Overlords versions of manifestations. They go out, they do things. One of them is anti-manifestations. The other one is it blows up, and they all have a slightly different effect. One can reduce the control score of an enemy, and it can respawn these things as well. And there's even a battle force that kind of synergizes with this too. And it's, at least currently with the current points, it's a free terrain piece. So you're getting manifestations that, since they're not really manifestations, they're inventions, right? They can't be countered by normal banishments, which is also another cool thing about them. Of course, you can still combat them, which I guess you always can. And then we have our new Battletome, which is, and I did opt to get, there was option to get the gamer version or the full one. I wanted to get the full one because maybe I'm going to read through some of this art. We have some really cool stuff in here. We're going to take a look at all of that and the new Warscrolls in this video. If you guys are new here to the channel, make sure you subscribe and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. That enters you to win the latest $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. We just started a new round of it. It's going to run for about 2 weeks. Let's dive in. So just a quick look at the Battletome. This is, one of the cool things about these is that you're going to get a whole lot of lore and a whole lot of art and a whole lot of story. If you want to learn about the story, this is a great way to do that. I don't think it's absolutely crucial that you do, but you're also getting some really cool stuff to look at here. A lot of eye candy in here, and maybe some inspiration for some of your fleets, so that is certainly cool. Oh, this is a big pull-out spread. Look at this, maps and all kinds of cool stuff in there. I didn't realize that we had all of that. So that's pretty cool stuff. Maybe some different paint inspirations for some of your armies if you're going through a lot of that. Again, a lot of this is lore. We got some cool stuff about certain characters that exist. Big fan of Drakey Flint and how he likes to use a frigate and do cool stuff there. But then we get into then that's just like half of the book. The second half is all of the important stuff. Now there's some really interesting changes to the Kharadron Overlords in this Battletome. This marks like a whole new faction design for them, and there's a couple of really important parts of this. One is that one of your ships can be a flagship that gains an extra, basically an extra bonus, and you get to pick that at the start of the deployment phase instead of army creation. So normally you can give everybody like an artifact of power and an enhancement, right? And this is basically something from the Great Endrin work. So it's an extra one of those categories that can go on your flagship specifically, on top of your existing things. So that's huge. That's a big deal. The other thing is like transporting Skyfarers. This used to be the Kharadron Overlords' main thing, is that they can, the airships can transport like 2 or 3 units, depending on which type of airship you're using, whether it's a frigate or an ironclad. And one of the cool things is if people came and threatened your relatively weak shooters, you could then do a redeploy and then pick them up. Or you could run, like you could evacuate the battle, and you can also take those guys with you. So this has changed in a number of ways. For one, you can only do it during your movement phase. So this is, and of course, it can't be charged, which it always was, but it only works during your movement phase. So you can't do a redeploy and take those guys with you anymore. And that is a big, like a big nerf to Kharadron Overlords and their previous strategy. The other thing is they can't be in combat, so you can't pull guys out of combat by doing this as well, which is another big nerf. So basically, if you have a bunch of shooters and you used to be able to keep them safe by pulling them out of combat with the airships, now you can't do that anymore. You're going to have to be able to, you're going to have to run on their own, and that is a problem. That can be very difficult. So it's going to require a whole new way to kind of rethink the approach. I was just starting to get the hang of it too. I think I had played one game with Kharadron Overlords where I was trying to use some of those mechanics. The good news for me is that I won't have to relearn too much because I didn't spend too much time getting comfortable with their old stuff. They have some new battle formations here. And these are basically when you build your army, you're going to choose one of these, like, hey, I'm going to be Kharadron Overlords, but I'm going to be Pioneers and Scavengers. So this is a bonus for the army. This is another bonus for the army. You get one of these 4 when you create an army, and this can maybe steer the direction. Like, oh, hey, all your Grunstock gun haulers, which are your smallest ships, they could usually only carry 1 unit. Now they can carry 2. So if you, instead of going with big airships, if you want to go with super tiny airships, maybe you could do that. But these are all changed as well, so that they're all different battle formations. We have heroic traits, artifacts of power, and great Endrin works. So instead of just one of each, we have great Endrin works now too, and this is something that can go on one of your airships. These are all new and cool stuff. There's a lot of there's some things that have carried over. There's some things that are a little bit new. But these are very interesting. We also have our Warscrolls. Now, you don't have to get this Warscroll card pack that we had here, but I like to get these because I'm not going to pull the book out every game. But this is a really nice way you can get a bigger version of it because the Warscrolls are super tiny, and I'll pull them out here in just a moment. The important thing to note is almost every unit is changed, and some of them are changed in drastic and significant ways. So it's important to keep that in mind. A lot of things have changed significantly. So I'm not going to go over every unit that's changed, but a lot of stuff is largely different. I'm a little annoyed with some of the changes because I had built out some of my guys to be very different than they were before. For example, I'm going to try and see if I can find it. The new Harpoon Crews here, we're going to talk about those in a minute. Arcanaut Company, they were kind of weak before. They've gotten a little bit buffed, and they've got some battle tactics that kind of work. Not battle tactics, but they have some new tricks up their sleeves, so that's good. The Ironclad and the Frigate have seen a few changes. Thunderers have gotten a little bit weaker. It's the Sky Wardens and the Endrin Riggers that got some significant changes, and I feel like now maybe the Sky Wardens are better. The problem that I run into is that I built all of mine as Endrin Riggers because to me they were superior at the time, so I built all of my Sky Wardens as Endrin Riggers. I have a reinforced Endrin Riggers unit now. Now I'm like, oh, Sky Wardens would be better. Now, fortunately for a pickup game, I can just say, hey, my Endrin Riggers are going to be Sky Wardens this game. But if I wanted to play competitively or whatever, maybe somebody would have a problem with that. I'm not exactly sure. I like to try and do WYSIWYG as much as I can. I don't always do it 100%, and sometimes I'll give somebody like 2 different guns, so like I can have the option to run them with either kind of gun and stuff like that. The Endrin Dock, which we're going to look at here in a minute, is really cool. It has the different abilities where it's going to, at the start of the deployment phase, it's going to spawn these 3 auto Endrins. You're going to be able to repair, and then you can also resummon one of these. So you can repair ships, or you can resummon one of these. They each require a roll, but they happen for free during your hero phase. But they gain a bonus if you've got an Endrin Master nearby, or an Endrin Master with dirigible suit or an Endrin harness. So the Endrin Masters give them, like, I think it's normally a 4-up, but this will make it a 3-up or something like that. So yes, yeah. So that's a good thing. Now, what do they do? What do these things do? Well, they have a 12-inch move, by the way. They can move around. So if nothing else, they can stop like Stormcast Eternals from dropping in behind you if you want to just set them back there, which is a really cool thing. They can't be dispelled because they're not manifestations, right? However, they also have extra things. So you've got your Nullifier, which can make banishment rolls and try to get rid of manifestations, which is good because you don't usually have wizards, since there are no magic users within this entire faction. This is I think the only faction in the game that doesn't have a single priest or wizard. They have no magic at all, but they use technology instead, and this is kind of one of the ways that they did this to try to balance these guys out. They have the Stun Cloud Endrin, which will remove 10 from the control score of somebody, so this can help you seize an objective if there's like a giant monster sitting on top of it or something like that. Then we have the Grudge Blast, which is probably the one that'll see some of the most play in my games. He just blows up and you roll a D3 on a 2-up, inflict mortal damage on the target. And that's everybody that it's in combat with. So you can, and this happens during the combat phase, all of these do. So you can go ahead and move them into combat, and then to start a combat, before we start attacking, they can blow up and do their thing, and then get respawned during your hero phase at the Endrin Dock, which is very cool. We also have a couple of new Spearhead options and some painting guides, and there's some, I think, new Armies of Renown, Path to Glory information in here. There's a whole lot of that. I don't do any of the Path to Glory stuff myself, but you're going to get all of that in here. Yes, Armies of Renown. We've got 2. We've got Pioneer Outposts, which is a new one. This one does a little bit more with, I think, the Endrin Dock. And then we've got the Magnate's Crew, which is, the Magnate is kind of like their version of Iron Man. He's like a super rich baron guy that has like the coolest suit ever. And it's centered around him. And then we've got Regiments of Renown. We've got Dreki's Privateers and the Skyport Profiteers. And that's about it. And then a rules reference page on the back and all of that good stuff. So that is our Kharadron Overlords book. Let's look at the cards. This is basically what you get when you get these Warscrolls, is they are basically your unit cards. Now, these aren't mandatory for gameplay. I find them super helpful because I like to pull stuff out. And if you play other games, these are going to be familiar. We've got Spearhead cards. Spearhead is the small format. This is like your introductory game. It uses a small play mat. It's not the full 2,000 point game. There are pre-constructed Spearhead armies, and you can make some choices, but for the most part, it's a pre-constructed army build. You don't have to really do any list building. You just run. I mean, you still have to kind of assemble the dudes and all of that, but you just kind of run the army like so. However, we've got Arcanaut Company. Look at this. There's stuff on the back. It's letting us know that there's stuff on the back as well. I kind of liked the bigger. They used to have a bigger version of these that had all the information on the front. I kind of liked that better. But this is okay, I suppose. It's fine. It's, it is what it is. I'm okay with it. We've got Skywarden, Brock, the Admiral, Dreki. We're going to have everything in here. And I think I have just about everything. And then we've got our little Endrins, right? And everything that comes with the Endrin Dock. And I think I have just about every single unit in Kharadron Overlords, which is exciting. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Null Khemist, and we'll get some of these open and show you kind of what they come with. This is the only one that's just a single model, so this one shouldn't be particularly complex. I don't think we're going to have many build options here. I think you only build him one way. But since I haven't done many, a whole lot of GW unboxings, we'll get in here. We've got our slightly larger base, our kind of standard hero size base. I think it's a 35 millimeter, something like that. And what I love about GW expansions is they actually give you build instructions in the box, so you don't have to go online and do anything. Like it's all in here. And I love that. I love that. I mean, they have a timeline that allows them to do it, but here we go. We've got his giant balloon, his supports there, and we've got the torso, the feet. A lot of parts of this guy are standard, like that remind me of kind of what the Magnate has, a very big apparatus. He's got the fancy like gun that shoots out the mist. He's got a pretty strong attack too. He's got a pretty strong attack. Oh, let's take a look at the Null Khemist. Let's talk about what he's got, since he's one of the new ones here. We'll pull him out. He's going to be in here. Null Khemist. Okay, so he's 12-inch move, 8 health, which is good, and a 3-up save, which is good, and he's a control score of 2. Not particularly high there. He is a hero. He's infantry, and he has fly, so he's not going to be able to take advantage of all the the new cover rules and all of the stuff that makes you untargetable, because he has fly. Who's flying above the terrain. But he has a null gas extinguisher, which is only an 8-inch range. So this is a short range. Again, it's gas, right? He's still got to be kind of close to the action. But with 12-inch move, that shouldn't be too hard for him. He rolls 3d6 to determine how many dice he's going to roll for the attack. He hits on a 2-up, so that's really good. But he wounds on a 4-up, so that's going to be the real bottleneck right there to doing damage. It's rend 1, damage 1. His melee is not terrible. It's 4 attacks. It hits on a 3-up, wounds on a 4-up again. It's rend 1, but it is damage 2. So you kind of got to get lucky. You're probably not going to do too much damage with that. But what he really wants to do, and the reason you bring this guy in here, is to go after casters, after mages and priests, and then their manifestations, because you're going to be able to double the damage that he has when attacking them. So while they are wholly within 12 of this unit, friendly Skyfarer units have 5-up against 5-up ward against mortal damage inflicted by spell abilities, prayer abilities, and enemy and abilities used by manifestations. Now, this is not attacks from manifestations, but those abilities used by them, right? Well, I guess, is an attack considered an ability? I don't think it is. A lot of manifestations will do like damage, right? And then the Null Suit. It doubles the damage characteristic of this unit's attacks that target a priest, wizard, or manifestation. And that's really what makes his melee so strong. If he can get in there, he's got now a damage 4 attack with 4 attack dice. And there are some things that can increase attacks and things like that. So he can probably one-shot a lot of mages and priests. However, close range means you're going to have a hard time shooting them, but with the 2-up, even if he gets a -1 to hit due to like a guarded hero, he still has a pretty good chance of doing some damage. And with 3d6, I mean, that could be 18 attacks, probably won't, probably going to be closer to like 10 or 11, but you have a pretty good chance of getting a lot of those, and if they're damage 2 attacks, he has a pretty good chance of taking out a mage or a priest in a single shot. But you got to get close enough to do that, and that's where it's going to be tricky. So that's the Null Khemist. We will be painting and putting him together and doing all of that soon. Check out Instagram. I'll be posting some photos of these guys when they're all done. I'd love to get some stuff of my entire Kharadron Overlords army. If you're interested in that, let me know. Maybe I'll do more videos of like armies and like how I've done them so far. Let's take a look at the Endrin Dock. We talked about this one already. I've already told you what it does, basically. Again, it can repair airships, and it starts the game spawning your 3 little auto Endrins, which I love it. I love that it addresses 2 problems that the Kharadron Overlords had, in that they didn't have a faction terrain piece, and they didn't have any magic or manifestations, right? And so this is a way for them to get their faction terrain piece, manifestations, and something they don't need as much, which is repair for their airships. That much is fine. And by the way, it kind of looks like a TARDIS, doesn't it? It looks like Doctor Who is in here, which is a fun thing. I have an extra little dwarf here that was from my Ironclad that he was supposed to go on the side and he was painting it. and I saved him. I didn't want to put him on the side, but I totally am going to have him painting this. And I think I got some gold paint on the paintbrush there. I don't think I'm going to put any gold on this, but I'll put a little bit, and I'll have him like painting the gold on there. That's what I'm going to totally do. It's going to be fun. So we've got our instructions here on how to build everything. So that's kind of how it's all going to go together. That's our Zontari Endrin Dock. And it's only one sprue, which is not too bad. This should be fairly easy to go together. I think the cool thing is that you have this whole kind of platform here, and there's a whole lot of like customization options that you can put all your extra dudes on there if you want, and that'd be fun. You got a decent sized base there, and then we got kind of hero sized bases for the auto endrins. So that one looks good. It's gonna be a fun one. It's fun because this one is, and it's free. It's a free faction terrain piece. Some of the faction terrain costs points. This one's free, so you can bring that in 100% of your builds if you want. And that's that's like almost like a must buy for this faction now. What's not a must buy is the Vongrim Harpoon Crew, or maybe are they? Well, I have 3 of these. I'm going to only open 1 because I don't need to open all 3 of them for this video. This is an exciting new unit, or a pair of units for me, because I love the way they look. I thought they were going to be a bigger melee threat, but they're not as threatening as I had feared or hoped, perhaps. But they are still cool. A head fell out of the box, so we're gonna have, and there's gonna be lots of heads in here because there's a lot of different options on how to build them. This is these sprues are full of heads. Look at all of these. Look at all of this head in this box. This is wow. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 heads on just this sprue. I think this is probably the only one that has the heads on it. I don't think we're going to get any heads on this other sprue here. Yeah, so we have a lot of groovy options here, and I am willing to bet that some of these are, there's got to be a little more, because one of them shows like a really thick bearded dwarf, and this one isn't as thick as that. So maybe there's extra beard extensions somewhere on there. But yes, we've got no flight stands on these, but we do have the foot kind of taking off from some ground terrain. Big spears, big beautiful spears. I want to see and here's one of the harpoon kind of tips. A lot of extra pieces to save if you are interested in that, and I think there's a lot of reason to do that, because there's like I only have 1 frigate, and I feel like there's a lot of incentive to get extra frigates now, and I may want to do that. We got a lot of big spears here. This is there's another helm. Oh, there's more heads over here. We got this one. I think these are probably the leader head options, but this is the one that I love right here. So I'm gonna be able to do some fun stuff with that one. This guy, look, he's got a dagger in his teeth. Oh, and that's and there's the lady dwarf. I'll point out that the female dwarves here don't appear to be bearded. Oh, here's another head over here. Dude, there's heads everywhere. You have a lot of options with this kit. A lot of options, which is really cool. And you can build these 2 different ways. Let's take a look at the book. So yes, look at this. The Harpoon Crew, you can build them with regular spears or tridents. Again, I like the trident option. That's for I think it's for the champion, right? And then you can also build them as Vongrim Salvagers. The Vongrim Salvagers are interesting because they have a really cool ability. But I think I'm leaning towards 2 units of Harpoon Crew and 1 unit of Salvagers right now. But there's a lot of different options. Look at all of those different options for heads, a lot of different options for the regalia that you can put on their backpacks and all of that. There is a ton of build options in this particular expansion, which is a really cool thing. And that is also kind of why I was like, I guess I have to get 3 of them. I probably didn't need 3. 2 is probably fine. I feel like we're going to look at this unit. We're going to look at their card and some of the cool things that they get. But I feel like they discourage you from doing a reinforced unit. I think you're better off just running individual units of these guys. And I'll tell you why. So but let me know. You might think differently. I'm going to find there's the Harpoon Crew, and then the Salvagers. All right, so initially I thought the Harpoon Crew was going to be the better at melee, and then the Salvagers would be better the other way around. So the Harpoon Crew, they're both 12-inch move, 2 health, 1 control, 4-up save. So they both have that going for them. Let me zoom in a little bit more on these cards because I think this is an important part of this. All right, so now we can see them a little bit better. The Harpoon Crew, again, this is the one I like better. They have a longer range for their ranged attack. Again, they each both has a ranged and melee, which is good. They have a 12-inch range for the Harpoon Crew, 2 attacks per, 3-up, 3-up, which is all right. Rend 1, damage 1. They get an extra rend if it's a monster. Again, a lot of dwarves are monster hunters, so that's something we see more and more, is that monster hunter key or anti-monster keyword, so +1 rend, which is nice. Their melee is okay. They get 2 attacks per. It's a 4-up, 3-up, rend 1, damage 1. Very kind of middle of the road melee. They do have champion, so you get +1 die if your leader is in there and also attacking, which champion does kind of, like mathematically, it's slightly better to have 2 units than 1 reinforced unit because you'll get then 2 champion bonuses, +1 die per champion. So that's good. But what the Harpoon Crew has is the Light Endrin Packs. And this is a combat phase ability, and this is massively cool. If this unit is in combat, it can move 2d6, but must end that move in combat. That's not a retreat. They just get to jump around at the start of combat, which means they can kind of hold the line and stop charging for the guys behind them, and then they can jump behind into combat with something that's much weaker, which is incredible. It's a really cool ability. By the way, I believe you can end that move in combat with like faction terrain or a manifestation that's not much of a threat or whatever. So like this gives you a whole bunch of ways to kind of to psych out a big melee threat that your opponent has and say, oh, did you charge me? Okay, cool. I'm gonna get out of here. And now you're stuck in your combat phase, and you're not in combat with anything anymore. But however, if they did charge, they will be able to pile in. So you kind of have to hope that your 2d6 roll is a little bit on the high side. But outside of that, it's still cool, and it's still, you can reposition in a way that they have like nobody that can actually hit you, or you put yourself just on one end, so then they're stuck having to pile in a different direction. So there's a lot of really fun tactical stuff you can do with that, and I love that ability. And that's one that leads to, like, say, maybe I don't want to reinforce these guys, because if I've got a unit of 10 of these guys, it's 5 per unit. If I got a unit of 10, it's going to be way harder for me to take advantage of the Light Endrin Packs and try to position the whole unit of 10, which are, again, they're decent-sized bases, a whole unit of 10, in a way that none of their guys can hit me anymore. So that's why I think run like an individual one of these is cool, but maybe a reinforced is not a great idea for them. Now we have the Vongrim Salvagers, which have some interesting stuff. They're not as strong with the melee, right? Or with the ranged. They have 10-inch range. It's a little less range, but they do have shoot in combat, so you'll be able to shoot it more times. It's 2 attacks. It's a 4-up with no rend and damage 1. So it's a kind of a weak ranged attack. The only thing that really helps it here is that it has shoot in combat. But it doesn't matter, because at 4-up and no rend, I don't think you're going to get any damage through. Maybe 1, even with a full health unit. I just don't see myself getting damage through, at least against anybody with decent defense. It's still a way to get some damage through against, like, I don't know, like clan rats and things that have virtually no defense. It's a little bit, but it's really just flak. It's not going to do much damage. Now, their melee is a little bit better. It's a little bit better because they have 3 attacks per mini, which is better than the Harpoon Crew, right? So their melee is better than the Harpoon Crew. They have 3 attacks per mini, but it's still not a great attack because it's a 4-up, 3-up. It is rend 1, it's damage 1, and it does have crit 2 hits. So if this unit is full strength, you're looking at 16 dice that you can throw. 5 miniatures times 3 is 15, plus 1 for the hero, for the champion. So with 16 dice, and every 6 is going to count as 2 hits, you can get a lot of damage through on their melee, which is only rend 1, damage 1. It's not a super strong melee attack, but what's beautiful about these guys is they're only like 90 and 100 points. They're super cheap. So that strong melee attack, even though they're only a 4-up save, which is a little bit weaker of a save than most of the rest of the faction, you could spam these guys. So that's why I'm like, maybe it's better to have Vongrim Salvagers, because you can run like 3 of these and have, you know, a potentially a really strong strike against a unit. Now, they also have Spotter's Flare Gun, and that one is interesting. It also leads towards, don't reinforce these guys, because if you run multiples of them, you can run multiple Spotter Flare Guns. So here's what it says. It says, pick an objective within 9 inches of this unit to be the target. So you got to be kind of close and closing in on an objective. These guys want objectives. You roll a die on a 3-up, apply the following effect for the rest of the turn. You add hit 1 to hit rolls for combat attacks, combat means melee, right? Made by a friendly Skyfarer units that target a unit that's contesting the objective. So if you're attacking an objective, your Skyfarer units, and that Skyfarers aren't just these 2, there's other Skyfarers like your Endrin Masters and stuff like that. So it works with a good section of the army. I like that. So adding 1 to Skyfarer units to their attack rolls. And again, their attack rolls aren't great. They're 4-up, 3-up, right? So this turns them to a 3-up, 3-up, and that's really good if it works. However, if you have 2 Vongrim Salvagers, you could run that twice. Now, you're not going to be able, if they both succeed, if the first one succeeds, then you don't want to do the same thing again, because you're going to cap out. And then, but it doesn't mean you don't need to all-out attack. All-out attack is so much worse now because it gives you, bad things now. So this will give you the good things of all-out attack without the benefits, or without the bad things. Alternatively, you can add, if you're defending, you can say add 1 to the rend characteristics of melee weapons used by friendly Vongrim Salvagers and Vongrim Harpoon Crew, so just them, that target a unit that is contesting the target objective. Now, the cool thing is, if you are on both of these, right, you can get both of them. So if you have 2 of these guys, you can potentially get both of these effects going on, because this particular ability doesn't say once per turn, once per army, or anything like that. You can do multiples of them. So it's really tough. I mean, I feel like really the way to go is to have 4, 2 Harpoon Crew and 2 Salvagers, but I only have 3. So maybe I'll build my 3rd one as having like a little bit of Salvagers and a little bit of Harpoon Crew, and I can reserve the right to run it either way. I'm still not sure yet. All right, you guys, this was a whole lot of talk about dwarves and Kharadron Overlords and Warhammer Age of Sigmar. And it's not something I talk about all the time, but if you want to see more Warhammer Age of Sigmar stuff, let me know down in the comments below. And since I'm usually targeting Star Wars fans, if you are friends with people who are playing Warhammer Age of Sigmar and you think this might be something that they might want to see, if you want to share it with those groups or with those folks, I would definitely appreciate it, because I'm having a lot of fun with this game, and I definitely enjoy talking about it. All right, that's going to do it for today's video. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys help make this whole channel possible. I will talk to you later. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. So say we all, and always wash your socks.